Alrighty everybody, this is going to be my guide on movement in Battlebit. First thing we're going to do is take a look at the foundational sort of reason why movement in Battlebit is a little bit different from other shooters. Then I'm going to go into some movement techs that you've probably seen from other YouTubers, but I'm going to explain how you actually learn them, because I find that a lot of YouTubers just say, press this button in a gunfight, and then move on, whereas I want to show how to actually build the habit and when it's correct to do it, so you don't end up, doing a bunch of movement stuff and then dying. Like, when you kill someone who's doing that, and that's kind of funny. I don't want that to happen, you know what I mean, because that sucks. But anyways, enjoy the video. There's something about Battlebit's movement fundamentally that I think will get changed because it's a little bit OP. But if you guys have played Apex Legends, do you guys remember tap strafing if you've played that game? Pretty much you can do that in Battlebit, but you just gotta hold W and you don't have to hit A and D. And for those of you who haven't played Apex Legends, pretty much if I'm running forwards in Battlebit and I turn my mouse around instantly, I actually, not at any single moment do I lose velocity. My character actually keeps velocity. Whereas in other games, your character, when you turn really fast, will actually decelerate. Like, you'll move a bit slower whilst you flick your mouse around. Whereas in Battlebit, I keep my velocity the entire way. And what this looks like in game is pretty much, if I'm holding Shift and W and I flick my mouse around, I have a rapid change of position. Like on other people's screen, I'll be just kind of zooming around and stuff, which means it's really hard to shoot me. I bring this up first because this is going to be pretty vital knowledge for understanding why certain techs later on are helpful, because them alone might not seem that helpful, but now knowing in Battlebit that you don't really lose velocity for changing direction and you just accelerate kind of instantly, will make the other movement techs make more sense. So the first tech that I'm going to go over is leaning while shooting. This one is pretty simple. It's actually in a lot of games, and I think that one of the first games where it became huge was Rainbow Six Siege, which I love that game a bunch. I was pretty good at it. Yeah, and in that game it was really big for a super long time, because when you would lean, your head would go from all the way to the left, like doing a left lean. Then when you would hit the right lean button, it would suddenly snap all the way to the right, until Rainbow Six introduced a thing where if you spammed the buttons, your head wouldn't move very quickly. You wouldn't instantly snap to the left and right. Battlebit, though, has not introduced that system, and we're currently in the phase of leaning is pretty good. So how do you lean? So I'm pretty sure I literally just have default keybinds. I just have Q and E on toggle, I'm pretty sure. Q and E to lean, and toggle means that when you press the button, it'll stay leaned. You don't have to hold the button. You can get a second bind, and you can make your lean A and D, which means that whenever you move left, you automatically lean left, and whenever you move right, you automatically lean right. But I personally don't like that, because I think there's a lot of situations where you're going to move left and right and you don't want to lean. So pretty much doing a lean is you trying to make the enemy's time to kill on you longer, and you're trying to make their aim harder. First of all, I think it's really good to pop a lean at the start of every gunfight, because it's just increasing the enemy's time to kill on you right away. And what I recommend is leaning not after you've aimed. Like, try to lean as soon as you react to an enemy on your screen. Because right now, over time, I now subconsciously just pop a lean to the right. I press E as soon as I see an enemy on my screen, not after I aim or start shooting. So leaning the other way, generally I do that when I've missed some shots, or maybe I've started a gunfight that's outside of my gun's range. It's a good way. Leaning the other way is like a good way of closing our time to kill gap, so I can kind of shoot out of my gun's range a bit, which is really, really handy, especially with like SMGs or guns with high recoil that you miss shots with. Leaning is a really good way of just closing the time to kill gap between you and the enemy. Now I'm going to move on to proning. Proning is going to be separated into two different things. There's getting down to prone and being prone. And then there's actually, because it works completely differently in this game, getting up from prone is very different to other games. It's actually a little bit bugged right now, but I'm still going to talk about it, but I personally see it as something that will be changed, but that'll be in the second sort of section. So now I'm going to talk about dropshotting. I know a lot of you guys probably don't like this, but I'm going to be honest, this would be a good Battlebit movement guide if I didn't mention it, because it is just a strong tactic. A quick little editor's side note, chuck a comment down below if you guys think the dropshotting is good or if you think it's bad, because I'm interested to see where my audience is at. And I'd actually like to have a good discussion, because I know that in a lot of other games they remove dropshotting. Do you guys reckon Battlebit should remove it? Or do you think it's not that big a deal, or what? I want to see where you guys are at. So dropshotting is when you pretty much prone in the middle of a fight, you prone to try and throw off their aim. Really, it's mostly good up close because at longer ranges, the movement of going standing to prone will not make someone's aim have to move that much. So the benefits of dropshotting go down because you also become a stationary target afterwards. Up close, however, it's really good for just getting that extra like half a second. Even though your hitbox is really big, it's the only way to get it to move so suddenly up close. Jumping left and right isn't even sudden enough, only dropshotting is. So under 5 meters, this technique is really, really good. Another huge plus is you don't need crazy aim to do it. Leaning left and right and getting faster and faster at it will require better and better aim, whereas dropshotting, the threshold for aim to do a proper drop shot isn't that hard at all. You can actually shoot whilst you're dropping, and you only have to aim up and down. You don't have to aim left and right. So if you were worried about your aim not being good enough, I really recommend pushing your boundaries and just give it a go. Do it really close, like in a super close range fight. Now I'm going to talk about getting up from prone, and this is something that I don't think I've seen this in any other game. This is, as far as I know, is unique to Battlebit. Let me know in the comments if there is another game, because I think it'd be pretty interesting to check out. But when you get up from prone with a sprint in Battlebit, so you're proning, if you hold W whilst you're proning and then shift to get up, your character will actually look really weird on everyone else's screen, and it almost kind of looks like you're teleporting. I personally think this is like kind of weird, and I think it'll get patched out. Once again, it's one of those things where it's in Battlebit, and I feel like I'd be lying to you guys if I didn't mention this tactic because it is a thing. And pretty much what you can do is you can do a few things. One thing is you can be behind something that's prone height, like a concrete barrier. You can start shooting, whereas on the enemy screen, you'll still be like partially behind the concrete barrier. Like in my other video, I mentioned Pika's advantage. This literally is as if you got Pika's advantage and added a little bit more. So it's just really, really good. Another tactic you can do is you can, I have done this, you know, sometimes when I need to take on a whole room of enemies and I'm having a tough time, is before I go in, you can prone next to the door, sprint run in, and for them, you'll still sort of be like half proning, half standing, whereas for you, you're just completely normal, like right away. This is a very offensive tool. Like this is super offensive tool. There's no real downsides to it. Dropshotting honestly gets saved by this tactic because when you are in a drop shot, if you kill one enemy, you can then exit the drop shot with such a strong movement. So pretty much combining this with a drop shot, like getting up from a drop shot with a sprint, will increase your chance of surviving a drop shot by a mile. So that's another like use for getting up from prone. That's really, really good. Really quick little addition onto this. I know I've gone on about this one tech for ages, but it's just a very strong one. But as I said in the start of the video, you don't really have any like inertia. You can just change your velocity and you have no penalty. If you swing your mouse around whilst you get up from prone and sprinting, you rapidly move, like really, really fast. This is the reason why I think this will get patched, because I think it's a little ridiculous how much it kind of like warps your hitbox compared to where you are on the screen. I find this a little dirty, but wrapping your mouse around won't get you kills. It'll just let you not die. So I guess it means it's not as oppressive as other movement techs, but still I think that's a little weird. I quickly just wanted to say thank you to everyone who made it this far in the video, just because I know this is going to be a bit of a long one and it's going to have a lot of info, and I'm sorry about the Snapchat notification. But yeah, thank you guys so much for like watching this far through, and I hope you are enjoying the video. I hope you're learning stuff. Anyways, on to the next thing. So this will be the last little bit about proning. I just wanted to mention that proning itself is actually quite a useful tool. Not getting down from prone, not getting up, but just being prone is actually just a really good thing for throwing off pre-aiming. If you guys remember, I recommend watching my Fundamentals of Battlebit video. I talked about passive aim. People don't generally passively aim at prone height, so it's actually a really good tool that if you can't get the initiative and round a corner and get your Pika's advantage, and you know what's going to happen to you, proning is a really good way of trying to even the level, like the playing field. Another really, really fast sort of movementy thing you can do in a very, very close range gunfight is before you drop shot or before you do anything in Battlebit, you can actually run through your team, like through enemies. So you can actually run through the enemy and then drop shot. That will throw off their aim so bad. They literally will have to do a 180 and then look all the way down to your drop shot. Running through the enemy in close range and then turning as soon as you run through is super duper good. I'm not going to go into like a super in-depth explanation right here and now, but it almost falls under the whole reaction time thing where you know you're about to run through them and you can turn whenever you want, whereas they have to react to you doing something. You just get a mad advantage from walking through an enemy. If you want to know how the whole reaction time thing works, Watch my fundamentals of Battlebit because I think that video has some good stuff in it. And yeah, anyways, onwards. I wanted to really quickly mention a bit of a thing about movement in general in Battlebit, and this will be near the end of the video, but it's stuff that I think you guys should know, and that is that movement in Battlebit generally is supplementing bad positioning. So if I'm in a bad position and I'm out of my gun's range and I'm in a place where I'm going to miss shots, that's when I'm going to have to lean a bunch, you know what I mean? Lean back and forth. And that's when I'm going to have to drop shot. If I'm way too close to my gun and I didn't hit my first shots and I got startled, that's when I'll have to drop shot. Those sorts of moves are like, they are things that make up for other shortcomings in your gameplay. So if someone's not doing these things a bunch, it doesn't mean they're bad. It just kind of means that it could actually just mean that their positioning and their awareness is really good. Whereas another aspect of it is someone who's really good might know that these techniques can afford them more kills in situations which they previously would never put themselves in. So like you see all these SMG players and the top players using these techniques a lot. That's because they know their limits so well. So it's kind of like you can be good at both ways, and eventually if you're going for a high kills per minute, you probably will start using these techniques a lot. But using them a lot also doesn't necessarily mean you're doing it right. Like, you know, when you guys will kill people who do that, like they'll do the leaning and the jumping and the proning, and you'll still kill them because they just were not in a situation where their aim was good enough to kill you. I don't want you guys to be in that situation. I know that's like tough to like kind of choose when and why, and that's why I said drop shot when you're really close and lean only back and forth when you're actually missing shots and things like that, because really they're supplemental things, not offensive tools. Getting up from prone, however, and this is the one I kind of feel like needs a bit of a balance, is a super offensive tool. Like, you can be in a good position on a roof behind a concrete barrier and you can do the get up from prone thing, and there's literally just no downside to you, and it will just give you way more time to kill. Like, it'll make the enemy's time to kill way higher. But yeah, anyway, sorry to end this in a bit of an informal sort of like discussion about movement, but I just wanted to give my sincere opinion because I just get a lot of people in game who I see they're doing the techniques too much and they're not actually helping themselves, and I don't want you guys to be in that situation where you're like in like a limbo where you're doing all the things but you're not actually getting better. Really, you should be avoiding having to use movement, and then as your aim gets better, you can start using these movement techs to kill more players. But granted, and I know this is super informal and really bad. This is going to be really bad, like flow at the end of the video for listeners. But I find this a lot. I get a lot of people in game. I'll kill them when they're doing all that stuff because my aim. I know in the videos it doesn't look that crazy because you don't see me versing movement players a bunch. But I generally kill people doing all these movement techs. And they'll say stuff like in game. They'll be like, "Oh, what the heck?" and like, "What the fuck?" and stuff like that. And it's like, you know, those guys obviously don't understand that it's not an instant win button. It's a I will delay the inevitable button. And against players whose aim isn't as good, it'll get you the kill. But good aim is a really good counter to all of these techniques. So never consider these foolproof, and you yourself start testing your limits. It'll honestly vary server by server, depending on how good the enemies you're versing are. But yeah, sorry about this whole end section being kind of like all over the place, but I don't know, I just think that it's really hard to say all these things in a linear fashion sometimes when they all connect to each other so deeply. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a deeper understanding of Battlebit and maybe games themselves. I'm thinking about starting a Discord or something soon. Check a comment if you reckon that's a good idea. I'm still not too sure if I want to, and I'm definitely thinking about streaming as well. And expect a video on the AK-15 and the Scar H that's been brewing for quite a while now. Yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed the video. And yeah, really quickly, my video about the update that I was like talking about the AK-5C being pretty busted now. At the end of that, there were some clan invites. Go ahead and join if you want. Peace, my homies.